Hey, it's been raining a lot these last couple days, and if you look outside, you can't tell now, but it has been. It's been raining a lot, or at least it was. And it was like a few day event, but on one specific day, it rained so much, and the street just flooded. The street flooded, and the stores closed. Like we couldn't get groceries, and we're just like driving around. But I thought it was like so interesting how like it was just one day and I saw people come out of their houses that I haven't seen ever, or at least in so long, like neighbors getting together. And I think it's always so fascinating how these things only really happen in times of calamity, that people are willing to get together, people are willing to like leave their houses and see and talk to other people. And I just wonder how much life has changed from the way things used to be, how much people have changed as a society, and how basically electricity went out. And I see how people left their houses, how people were willing to come together and talk and solve problems and situations that usually they wouldn't really be willing to do if something hadn't happened. And it was just one day, but I began to think about the collapse of our societal norms as we know it, the collapse of life essentially as we know it, and how life could be so much not better necessarily, but different if we would come together more. And the little it takes for it to happen, it's not necessarily little, but the one thing, especially electricity, that we use day to day to day to day, how when it's gone, it feels like, okay, what do we do now? What do we do now that electricity is gone? And I think that's so interesting. And I always hear people, I guess, from like old generations, like, oh, life has changed so much and all this technology and all the phones, but maybe it is the phones. Maybe it is. Well, we know now that it is the phones. We know now that it is electronics, but I mean, we'll never know a life outside of it, and that's kind of the reality. And now with AI, we'll never know a life outside of AI, and that's also that kind of reality. But I began to think about how life would be now in 2026 if we still didn't have those things, if we still didn't all have cell phones, and if we would be happier, if we would be more joyful, more joyous, and more willing to spend time in a community. Of course, we have these things, and technology has done so many great things, but I see the negative impact so much more than I do the positive sometimes. And it makes, I don't know, sometimes I feel like the good outweighs the bad, but then the bad outweighs the good. And it's this constant like back and forth in my mind that I just can't decipher truly and really. And I wonder how God feels about it. I wonder how God feels watching people not be able to socialize, not in person sometimes, not be able to, come out of their houses, and we're all sort of in our own space, our own area, and sometimes unwilling to communicate to other people that I guess are outside of our like aesthetic, outside of who we are as a person. And I think it's made for a very isolated and very depressing society at times, where we can't talk to other people, or we can't, like, we don't even know what to talk about. We don't know how to talk about besides like maybe the weather and politics, but about like each other's lives, and being patient enough to listen, and caring enough to stay, to be there, and to just soak in each other from like different age groups, and just being able to come together as one. But I feel like with technology and with our For You pages, since it's designed for us, we don't necessarily have to look outside of our perspective. And I know there's this quote, and it kind of goes like, the problem with this generation is that everyone what is it? Everyone listens, but not to understand, but to respond. And I think about that so often, how that's what we do. We stay firm and we stay adamant in our own opinions and are unwilling to listen to others. But I think it's because we don't allow ourselves sometimes and at times to be exposed to others. But if we did, how beautiful that would be, and how sometimes I think about the way or how God originally ordained things. How did God see us, and how did God want us to communicate, and how did God want us to come together as one, you know? And I see, and the calamity is horrible, but the gathering of people that I see when it happens is so inspiring that it makes me wonder if this is what God originally ordained, not for calamity to strike us all inevitably, but to see people come together and to see people talk and to see people laugh and live and just enjoy the presence of one another without necessarily having to, have arguments and formulate all these abstract opinions. Not that they're bad, and I believe they make for good conversation, but just to be together, I think it's more than beautiful, more than precious, and that we've lost a lot of it. But if this society were to collapse, if electricity was to go, if all these materialistic things that we hold dear to each other were to go, we would be left with each other. And I wonder what we as a society could do with that.